What if the stars could be bent to your will, and every dream was a doorway? Buried in ancient texts lies a forbidden guide to shaping fate, summoning spirits and leaving your body behind. This is the world of the Picatrix, planetary spirits and the doctrine of influence. In the cosmology of the Picatrix, the stars are not passive lights. They are sovereign powers, alive, intelligent, and ancient beyond reckoning. Each planet governs a hierarchy of spirits, intelligences who administer divine order, and daimons who stir chaos. These are not mere metaphors. In the worldview of the Hermeticist and the medieval sage, everything that moves in the heavens also moves in the soul. The 7 classical planets, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, and Moon, each shape the destinies of men, the temperament of nations, and the inner tides of the psyche. To understand them is to understand your own hidden architecture. The Picatrix warns, do not invoke the name of a planet blindly. One must seek the ruling spirit, the soul of the sphere, for the same planet that brings genius can also bring madness. One who walks this path must be both scholar and seer. Citations: Picatrix, Book 1, Chapter 2. The planets are like kings in the heavens. Iamblicus, de Mysteriis. The gods do not descend to us, but draw us upward through likeness. Hermetica, Libellus X, Section 2. The talismanic image, form, function, and fate. The talisman is not a charm, it is a chamber, a vessel designed to house force from the stars. Every material, every symbol, every moment in its creation must correspond precisely to the spirit it seeks to contain. The Picatrix reveals that certain stones, like emerald for Mercury or sapphire for Saturn, are not chosen arbitrarily. They resonate with celestial intelligences. Metals too carry planetary affinities. Gold with the sun, silver with the moon, iron with Mars. In the hands of the adept, these become keys, opening the invisible. But even this is not enough. The form carved into the talisman must reflect the image of power. A man seated and holding a book evokes Mercury's knowledge. A lion devouring a serpent may evoke Mars victorious over Saturnine restriction. And this image must be born in silence. No profane word, no broken attention. It must be made under the correct planetary hour and sign, for the cosmos will only lend its power if the gate is properly aligned. Citations: Picatrix, Book 2, on planetary materials and images. Agrippa, 3 books of occult philosophy, Book 2, Ch. 22. Proclus, on the theology of Plato. The talisman maker, a disciplined mystic. The maker of a talisman is not merely an artisan. He is a bridge between heaven and matter. The Picatrix insists that the practitioner must undergo purification before any image is made. Fasting, ritual bathing, silence for days. Why? Because the talisman responds not only to the alignment of stars, but to the alignment of the soul. If the heart is scattered, if the mind is clouded, the image will be lifeless, hollow, like a flute that has forgotten the wind. The ancient texts teach that the human soul is a mirror of the heavens. When polished through discipline, it reflects celestial forms with clarity. And it is this mirror, clear, steady, and unbroken, that invites the spirit into the image. In this sacred silence, a ritual takes place, not of words but of resonance. The magician, the moment, and the material align like gears in an eternal clock, and through this, a spark is captured, a power drawn down. Citations: Picatrix, Book 3, on ritual purity, Ibn Arabi, Futuhat al-Makkiyah, section on inward preparation. Plotinus, Enneads, V1. The soul must strip away the visible to see the eternal. We have forgotten how to listen, but in the quiet craft of the talisman maker, the ancients found a way to speak with the stars, a method not of belief, but of participation. The image was not magic, it was a map, a mirror, a meeting place. The invocation of spirits and the astral ladder for the silent library section. 1. Building the ladder between worlds. All invocation begins with ascent, not of the body, but of the will. The Picatrix speaks of the ladder of the planets, by which the soul climbs toward divine intelligence. Each rung is a trial, each sphere a teacher and a veil. The magician does not summon the spirit directly. He climbs toward it. Through invocation, visualization, and purification, the soul becomes light, capable of reaching that which is above form. This is the astral ladder. Saturn, the gate of time; Jupiter, the realm of order; Mars, the forge of will; the Sun, the throne of truth; Venus, the sanctuary of harmony; Mercury, the cipher of language; the Moon, the mirror of all below. To climb is not to conquer, but to attune. References: Picatrix, Book 1, Ch. 5. Hermetic Ascent. Texts: Corpus Hermeticum Phi. 3. Dionysius the Areopagite. Celestial Hierarchy. The Act of Calling. Vibration, Voice, and Intention. To invoke a spirit is to harmonize with its essence. The Picatrix outlines sacred names, tones, and syllables, each designed to awaken resonance. These are not mere words. They are blueprints, frequencies that unlock specific gates. When spoken with clarity and intention, the vibration of these names carries upward through the astral veil. Each spirit dwelling in its proper sphere hears only what matches its nature. And so, the voice becomes a bridge, but not just any voice, a voice emptied of ego, a voice trained in silence, for the power lies not in volume but in alignment. This is why the ancients memorized hours, lunar phases, planetary dignities, not for superstition, but precision. The cosmos is music, and every call must strike the correct chord. Iamblichus on the Mysteries, Shaft 2. The uttered word and the divine are connected. Orphic hymns, especially to Helios and Selene. The descent, when the spirit answers. If the rite is pure and the voice is true, the spirit may answer. But it does not come as fire or thunder. It comes as silence made visible, a pressure in the air, a whisper in the spine. The Picatrix warns that the appearance of a spirit is not always visual. Some come as feelings, others as sudden knowing. A rare few appear in dreams or in the flicker between thoughts. One must be trained to receive, for the descent of a planetary intelligence is subtle. Its presence may burn through the astral sheath, altering thought, mood, and perception. This is the mystery of descent, not that the spirit comes low, but that the magician becomes high enough to perceive. Neoplatonic texts on epiphany and spiritual reception. Invocation is not domination, it is alignment. When we speak the name of the spirit with purity and wisdom, we are not summoning it, we are remembering it. For the stars speak always, we have only forgotten how to listen. The secret architecture of the talismanic image, exploring the hidden geometry, timing, and spiritual mechanics behind talisman creation. This chapter answers the deeper question: why do specific symbols, times, and materials matter in magical art? And how did the ancients ensure their talismans weren't merely symbolic, but living containers for celestial force? The blueprint of the stars. Geometry as invocation. The shape of a talisman is not chosen at random. It is a key, drawn from the geometry of the heavens themselves. The Picatrix teaches that certain angles attract specific planetary powers: a triangle for fire, a square for stability, a heptagram for the dance of the seven spheres. These are not symbols, they are resonant geometries. Just as musical notes form chords, these forms create vibratory fields. The image is built not just to represent the planetary force, but to contain it, channel it, anchor it to earth. To carve without knowledge is to build a temple with no door. But when the angles align and the spirit is welcomed correctly, the talisman becomes more than image, it becomes architecture for the invisible. References: Picatrix, Book 2, Chapter 10, on the images of the fixed stars, Proclus, Elements of Theology Agrippa, Book 2, HR 23, on geometrical figures and celestial harmonies, Section 2, Time as Substance, Choosing the Celestial Moment. To the ancient Magus, time was not linear, it was layered. Each moment contained a specific celestial fingerprint, and so the talisman must be birthed at the exact moment when its ruling planet is strong, dignified, ascending, and unafflicted. The Picatrix warns, never carve an image during eclipse. Avoid the void of course moon. Choose hours when your chosen planet is in its own house or exalted. This was not superstition, it was engineering. Just as a seed must be planted in spring, so too must a talisman be created when the sky supports its purpose. The image is the body. The moment of creation is the soul's breath. On the times of the moon and planets, Dorotheus of Sidon, Carmen Astrologicum the Sefer Yetzirah, on the correspondence of time and force. Even with the correct form and moment, the talisman remains inert until it is awakened. This is the secret rite known as sufflation, the breathing of intention, spirit, and sacred names. A true talisman is a prayer carved into matter, not a superstition, but a technology of spirit. The ancients knew what we have forgotten, that the stars speak, and that, if shaped wisely, matter can answer. The language of stars, fixed stars, and ancient stellar sorcery. Exploring how ancient magicians mapped power onto the fixed stars and summoned them into earthly form. This chapter shifts our gaze beyond the wandering planets to the ancient fixed stars, believed to hold timeless crystalline intelligences, older than any known god. In the Picatrix, these stars are revered not just as ornaments of the sky, but as arcane transmitters of divine force. Stars that do not move, the eternal lords of heaven. While the planets wander, the fixed stars endure. Known to the ancients as stellae fixae, they are the unmoving judges of the zodiac. Their names still echo: Aldebaran, Regulus, Antares, Algol, each one a living presence in the magician's sky. The Picatrix describes them as rulers of fate, capable of granting kingship, wealth, prophecy, or destruction. Their force is more primal than planetary influence, less concerned with morality and more with raw stellar force. To invoke a fixed star is to touch something ancient, something that predates language, gods, and form. These are not spirits one commands. They are powers one honors with precision and humility, tying heaven to earth. The art of the fixed stars is the art of sympathy, of tying the light of the heavens to the substance of the earth. For each star there is an hour, a symbol, a material, and a ritual. Regulus, the heart of the lion, grants authority if carved into gold at sunrise when the sun rises on the eastern horizon. Algol, called the demon star, empowers curses, madness, and disruption, and must be approached with shielding rites. The talismans of fixed stars are like seeds of fate. When formed correctly, they pull down the light of eternity into a physical shape, embedding stellar destiny into human time. But one must beware. Fixed stars do not bend to mortal desire. They bestow what they are, not what we want. There are stars above the planets, older, colder, wiser. They do not move, but if approached with clarity, courage, and humility, they may choose to answer. The alchemy of earth, magical plants, stones, and scents. Discover how nature becomes an extension of the stars and how ancient mages infused earthly elements with celestial intelligence. This chapter reveals how the physical world is not separate from the heavens, but a mirror and vessel for its power. Plants, stones, and scents were chosen not for superstition, but for resonance, each a conductor of spiritual force. The doctrine of signatures, reading the hidden alphabet of nature. The Picatrix teaches that the world is written in signs, This was echoed by Paracelsus in the 16th century when he declared, "Nature marks each thing with its own signature." The red of a rose aligns with Mars, the upward curve of rosemary with the sun, the pale crescent-shaped leaves of mugwort with the moon. To the ancient magician, every plant carried a celestial imprint. This was not metaphor, but metaphysics. Form reveals origin, color whispers its ruling star, and so, to choose a plant is to align with its angelic echo. The signature of all things, stones that remember the stars. Stones are the bones of the earth, forged under pressure. They remember the moment of their creation. The Picatrix calls them the fixed witnesses of planetary essence. Lapis lazuli opens the eye of Jupiter. Hematite shields with the power of Mars. Emerald draws down Venusian grace. But not all stones are equal. A gem found on a fated day during a strong planetary hour carries far more charge than one mined carelessly. Ancient grimoires even list incantations to awaken sleeping stones, to call forth their hidden fire. The magician does not merely wear the stone, he converses with it. Book of Minerals, the Book of Wings, Pseudo-Alkindi. The breath of invocation. Scent is the bridge between matter and spirit. The Picatrix gives elaborate instructions for the preparation of incenses, each one a breath for a god. Frankincense calls the sun, myrrh welcomes Saturn, camphor purifies under the gaze of the moon. The smoke does more than carry scent. It lifts intention, opens perception, thins the veil. This is why rituals begin with fumigation. The smoke creates sacred atmosphere, altering the inner state of both practitioner and space. In some rites, the incense itself is the talisman, the burning of it is the prayer, the release, the offering, the door. Hermes Trismegistus on the sacred breath. The earth is not dead matter. It listens, it responds. The magician's task is to recognize the star, hidden in root, gem, and flame, and speak its name in silence. The planetary spirits, lords of the celestial hierarchy. Unveiling the intelligences, spirits, and angels that rule over the 7 planets, and how ancient magicians sought communion with their eternal essence. In this chapter, we journey into the invisible hierarchy behind the visible planets. To the ancients, the stars were not mere lights. They were thrones, and the planets were their ruling spirits, each with their own ministers, messengers, and celestial courts. The thrones of the 7, planetary intelligences and spirits. The Picatrix reveals that behind every planet lies a dual spirit. One is the intellect, the divine mind that governs the planet's higher will. The other is the demon, the force that enacts that will in the lower worlds. These are not metaphorical energies. They are beings, ancient, radiant, and watchful. To call on them is not to ask for favors, but to step into a cosmic pact. For Saturn, we call upon Cassiel, the silent watcher of endings. For Jupiter, Zadkiel, the spirit of mercy and expansion. Venus brings Hagiel, radiant with grace. Each name is a key, each spirit a tower of living meaning. Pseudo-Dionysius, celestial hierarchy. The magical chain, from god to star to spirit to world. Hermetic tradition speaks of a golden chain of being, an unbroken thread from the one, through the stars, into matter. The Picatrix is one of the clearest mirrors of this vision. Every planetary spirit is part of a cosmic ladder, from the absolute through the first intellect down to the spheres of the planets and finally into the elemental world. Ritual is how the magician climbs back up that ladder. When the magician invokes the planetary spirit at the correct hour, with the right incense, sigil, and state of mind, the entire chain vibrates. Reality becomes a harp touched by invisible hands, preparing for contact, purity, intention, and danger. The planetary spirits are not easily summoned. They are ancient, subtle intelligences who respond not to loud voices, but to purity, discipline, and silence. The Picatrix warns, if the ritual is impure or the timing wrong, you do not summon the intended spirit, but an echo, a shadow, or worse, a liar cloaked in planetary disguise. Therefore, great attention is given to preparation. The moon, gatekeeper of spirits and dreams. Exploring the moon's central role in magical timing, astral travel, and the hidden realms between mind and matter. Among the planetary spheres, none is closer, more personal, or more mysterious than the moon. She governs tides, time, emotions, and in the Picatrix she is the primary key to effective magical work. She is both the womb and the crossroads. Lunar timing, the compass of the magician. The Picatrix insists that all magical operations be governed by lunar timing. To ignore the moon is to speak into chaos. A talisman forged when the moon is in a sympathetic sign will hum with power, but if the moon is void of course, wandering disconnected, it becomes lifeless. Worse, it can turn against the magician. This is the art of electional astrology, choosing the perfect moment when the moon aligns with intention. This isn't superstition, it's precision. Like sailing, one must wait for the right wind. In this way, the magician becomes an astral navigator, mapping the sea of time with the moon as their compass. The Book of Instruction in the Elements of the Art of Astrology Agrippa. 3 books of occult philosophy. Book 2, Section 3, Dreams, Visions and Lunar Spirits. Dreams are ruled by the moon, not because they're unreal, but because they belong to the in-between. The Picatrix calls dreams the voices of spirits through the veil of images. When the moon is strong, dreams carry messages. In the ancient world, temples dedicated to Selene and Artemis offered incubation rites where initiates would sleep to receive divine visions. The magician cultivates dreams, not for escape, but for navigation. The sleeping mind is the lunar temple, and each symbol is a torch waiting to be lit. Some even say that in lucid dreams, one may meet the planetary spirits face to face, if the moon allows it. Artemidorus, the interpretation of dreams iamblichus on the mysteries Chaitanya 3. She is not passive, she is not only light. The moon is the keeper of portals. To align with her rhythm is to dance with the soul of the world. Magical architecture, temples of the stars and planetary cities. Exploring the ancient art of building temples that reflect the heavens, where geometry, astrology and magic converge into living space. This chapter unveils the forgotten wisdom of astral architecture, temples and cities crafted not merely for worship or shelter, but to invoke, contain, and radiate celestial forces. The Picatrix draws on ancient Hermetic, Babylonian, and Neoplatonic knowledge to show that sacred space is a form of alchemy in stone, designing in the image of the stars. The Picatrix teaches that sacred buildings must reflect the heavens. Geometry is not just practical, it is spiritual. Every angle and proportion becomes a resonance chamber for celestial power. This echoes Plato's Timaeus, where the soul of the world is built from geometric harmony, and in Egypt, pyramids were aligned with Orion and Sirius, not for glory but to open portals. Thus the ancient magician architect constructed temples like star maps, altars aligned with solstices, columns echoed planetary numbers, floors laid with zodiacal mosaics. The temple became an invocation in stone. In the magical cities described by the Picatrix, there were 7 temples, each devoted to a planet, each constructed in the hour, day, and season of its ruling planet, each filled with specific incenses, metals, and colors. The Saturn temple was heavy and dark, built of black stone and lead. The Venus temple shimmered with copper and mirrors. The Jupiter temple rose high, with incense of cedar and amethyst pillars. Each was a magnet for its planetary spirit, not symbolic but literal. The city became a network of tuned temples, drawing down the heavens like instruments tuned to divine chords. The myth of the magical metropolis. The Picatrix speaks of cities not just built magically, but cities that are magic, places where the very layout is a talisman, streets that trace constellations, wells that echo lunar rhythms, gates opened only on planetary hours. One such mythical city was Adocentin, said to have been founded by Hermes Trismegistus himself. Its walls were inscribed with sigils, its towers aligned to the planets, and its air charged with the breath of stars. These cities were not fantasies, they were blueprints, maps of memory from a forgotten age when human hands still shaped sacred geometry, and walking through a city meant walking through a ritual. The magician who builds with wisdom builds not a house, but a star fallen to earth, a temple where the invisible becomes real. The astral body and the secrets of soul flight, revealing the ancient techniques of separating spirit from flesh, of traveling across worlds using the luminous double known as the astral body. The Picatrix does not merely teach how to call spirits, it teaches how to become one. This chapter explores how the ancients understood the soul's subtle body, a second self made of starlight, capable of traveling between planes, gathering knowledge and returning transformed. Each section contains one evocative visual, deep, symbolic narration, esoteric sources for validation. The astral body, your star-born double. According to the Picatrix, every soul is cloaked in a luminous body, a subtle form that reflects the starry architecture of the cosmos. It is not imagination, it is the chariot of the soul. This astral form is called the Haykal al-Nur in Arabic, the Temple of Light. The Greeks knew it as the Eidolon. The Hermeticists called it the vehicle of ascent, which carries the soul through the planetary spheres. It is this double that dreams, receives visions, and survives death. In conscious trance, it can leave the body, ascending beyond Saturn's gate into the realm of the first intellect. Zohar, Ra'aya Mehemna, on the spiritual body. The technique of ascent, rituals of soul separation. The Picatrix provides fragments of the ancient technology of soul separation, methods for voluntary ascent. This includes strict purification, timing with planetary hours, invocations of celestial names, and the burning of specific incenses that lighten the soul. The magician must empty the body of distractions, enter stillness, fix the gaze inward, and then, at the right planetary gate, unhook the soul. This is the art of ascent, once practiced in temples of Egypt and Chaldea. Not a dream, but a discipline, not hallucination, but navigation through levels of reality. On the soul's vehicles, Gnostics, the Apocalypse of Paul, Third Heaven Journey, Zosimos of Panopolis, the Vision section. 3. Dangers and revelations in the astral realms. Not all who travel return whole. The Picatrix warns of phantoms, delusions, and false guides that appear in the intermediate realms. The soul, untethered, becomes visible to spirits both luminous and hungry. Protection is key. A magician must journey only when fortified by ritual, planetary alignment, and the invocation of celestial guardians. Without these, one might mistake a shadow for a god, or be trapped in the echo of their own desire. Yet for those who succeed, the prize is immense: revelation, memory of divine origin, and glimpses of the hidden order of the spheres. References: Picatrix, Book 4, On Dangers of Soul Travel, The Chaldean Oracles, The Book of Enoch, Vision of Heavens and Watchers, Hermetic Arcanum, On Astral Ethics, The Ethics of Power, Sacrifice Intention, and The Path of the Magus. What does it mean to wield power over the invisible? In this chapter, we uncover the esoteric laws of magical morality within the teachings of the Picatrix, and why sacrifice, purity, and intention form the true foundation of all working. Each scene includes one evocative, symbolic visual, deep mystical narration, supporting sources from ancient esoteric texts. This is the world of the Picatrix,